Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on this late Friday evening, I stand here to make my contribution and to lend support to Budget 2021 titled A Path to Recovery, Economic Dynamism and Resilience. A budget that was carefully crafted and presented by my colleague and the team at the Ministry of Finance, recognizing our technical staff throughout all of the various sectors that will do Guyana good. This budget must be supported by all right-thinking Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, I stand here to make my presentation, and I would like to declare for you, for the benefit of all members of this House and all Guyanese, I am a manumated Guyanese. I am mentally liberated. I'm from Africa. I have African ancestry. I'm a spiritually conscious human being, but I'm a politically informed citizen. I'm a leader that is committed to the unity and national reconciliation of this nation, and I believe in the oneness of our people. And I'm working towards pursuing our nation's motto, one people, one nation, and one destiny. Mr. Speaker, I say that to indicate that I'm extremely zealous and I'm very passionate about Guyana's future and Guyana's development. So as I speak here tonight, sir, I speak from that background. And I must indicate, sir, that the last time I checked, there is no transport lodged anywhere, any part of this country or any part of the world where any human being, system, or group or tribe owns me. I'm a free person. Mr. Speaker, in congratulating my colleague of many years who I enjoy working with, a man of class, skill, and patience, Dr. Ashley Singh, I would want to indicate to you, sir, that budget projects plans, projects, programs, and policies. Budget 2021 is informed largely by that world-renowned low-carbon development strategy, the National Development Strategy, the Poverty Reduction Strategy, and the Competitiveness Strategy. What we are doing in Guyana is not pulling things out of thin air, but it is informed by well-documented strategies that benefited from wide consultation and had the input from the widest cross-section of Guyanese. So this plan, A Pathway to Prosperity, Economic Dynamism and Resilience, is crafted with the Guyanese people in mind. And that is why every right-thinking Guyanese should support Budget 2021. Mr. Speaker, listening and observing and making my own assessment from listening to my colleague, reading the budget speech and researching the numbers and looking at all of the various sectors, I've concluded that this budget provides for 8 things that I would like to indicate. Number 1, sir, it provides for the building of the physical infrastructure to ensure the transformational development and modernizing of Guyana. When I speak about this, sir, I speak about what we could all look forward to: cheap, reliable energy. Starting the process of ensuring 400 megawatts of electricity to bring down the cost for manufacturing, for household use, and to ensure industrialization and light manufacturing. I speak, sir, of the possibility of having what the President described in this House as the corridor of development. Mr. Speaker, I'm referring to a new bridge across the Quarantine River, linking the island, Long Island, as a free port, free zone area, linking two countries, making it possible for Guyanese and others international travelers to move through South America, through Brazil, French Guyana, into Suriname, into Guyana, down the Linden Latham Road, over the Takatu, back into Brazil, and opening new possibilities for markets in South America. We are not talking bangles and bed sheets. We're talking major development. Corridors of development, sir, we're talking about. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about a new 4-lane, high-span concrete bridge across the Demerara River. Mr. Speaker, for the record, when we went out for expressions of interest, 21 companies showed interest. Just the other day, when we went out for expressions of interest for certain studies for the Quarantine River Bridge, 30 companies showed interest. You know what that means, sir? The world is looking at Guyana. The world is seeing opportunities in Guyana, and only those who are politically strangulated by anger and bitterness, they are unable to see the future of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, when we speak about the corridors of development, we're talking about the development of our hinterland, not just merely with access to roads, but with ferries and with our coastal and hinterland airstrips. Since presiding as the team leader in this ministry, sir, we have had the opportunity of granting permission for new airstrips and new aircrafts because Guyana is taking off. One member said the budget crashed before takeoff. It depends where he's living. We're talking, sir, that this budget not only provides for the building of physical infrastructure, but it creates a framework that allows for social inclusion and oneness. I heard members of the opposition saying that this budget is discriminatory. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you how the budget discriminates. It discriminates in favor of more than 180,000 school children who will benefit by way of a $15,000 cash grant. It discriminates in favor of the 61,000 pensioners that the Honorable Minister Vindia Prasad spoke about, who will get an increase in their pensions. It discriminates in favor of our young and small businesses who have been provided $250 million to ensure there is capacity building and opportunity to go to the next level. That is how this budget discriminates. Mr. Speaker, it discriminates in favor of the Amerindians of our country, our indigenous people, our brothers and sisters of the 215 villages scattered across our country, to ensure that they get electricity, even though not on the grid. The Honorable Pauline Sukai spoke to that not so long ago today, sir, where there will be 35,000 household units moving from 65 watts to 150 watts, going to every household in the interior and our riverine areas. This is how this budget discriminates. This budget discriminates, sir. Yes, the opposition says it discriminates. It discriminates in favor of our young people that the Honorable Charles Ramson would have the opportunity to go into their communities and to develop capacity in their community centers, to provide the sporting equipment, to give them safe spaces to hang out and recreate, to play and to educate and to socialize in safe areas, which will mean less work for Minister Ben in the crime and security sector. That is how this budget discriminates, sir. So I really think that we have colleagues that are not in their right mind. Mr. Speaker, thirdly, this budget promotes and encourages the entrepreneurial spirit of our people. It encourages innovation. It creates opportunities. And certainly, it is ensuring a pathway to prosperity. Mr. Speaker, I believe in charity, but I have a greater belief and hope that what people believe is not just merely charity, but opportunities. And that is why when you look at the measures in the budget, opportunities for home ownership, opportunities for expansion of your business, opportunities for small businesses to grow, opportunities for young people to get online scholarship. I was pleased when I learned from my colleague Minister of Education that a teacher could be in a remote area, teach all day, still study and graduate without having to leave her children there because of online learning. That is what this budget is doing, sir, creating opportunities. Mr. Speaker, this budget is also correcting the wrongs of the past. Yes. You know, Mr. Speaker, if we to spend time tonight speaking about the wrongs of the last 5 years, we will be here for a very long time. But a lot of my colleagues have eloquently already placed on the record the wrongs of hardships and difficulties. And while I'm at this, Mr. Speaker, let me just say something. It would appear that there is a grave misunderstanding as it relates to the PPPC's model of development. Mr. Ramjitan, the honorable member, accused us of borrowing. Mr. Speaker, you heard the word borrowing. Every Guyanese who's listening to me on this Friday night would love to get themselves qualified where they could go to the bank and borrow. Why they want to borrow? Because you want to accelerate your development. You want to improve on your possibilities of prosperity. When the PPPC borrows, sir, we don't borrow for a parade. They borrow to build a stadium to have a parade. When we borrow, sir, it's to invest. That in the years to come, that investment pays for itself. We go out based upon our track record of having been able to bring down our difficulties as it relates to our debt worthiness, that we could now go out on the international market and we could borrow at concessional rates, 20 years, 30 years, 1%, 2%. And you know what that is doing for us, sir? Helping us to accelerate our development. Listen to the APNU's model of development, taxation. And even when they borrow, sir, it's to spend on cheese straw, Grey Goose, meals at the Marriott Hotel, consuming items that makes no sense. Mr. Speaker, I understand the bitterness of the Honorable Member Ferguson when she spoke earlier tonight. You know what she missed, sir? I have the documents, I can produce it to the world, so let me be challenged. The Marriott account was her personal petty cash. Every time she's going to the Essequibo, 600,000. She's going to the Rupununi, 900,000. She's going to Wakenham. Mr. Speaker, we all know Under every ministry, monies are given for travel and subsistence, which includes allowing ministers to be financed to do their governmental work. Why are you dipping into an agency, writing letters, Mr. Speaker? It was her personal donation club as well. For gospel concert, and I wouldn't call the name, $2 million of Marat money, sir. So I could understand the bitterness and the frustration. Mr. Speaker, the benefits of the brooches and the gifts and the bed sheets and the laptops and the unending list of items that were bought from agencies from Minister Ferguson and Patterson while they served as ministers and minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure is well documented, and it's a shameful act. People's monies must not be used for your personal gain. You are put there to serve. You're already salaried and taken care of with allowances and benefits. Why are you using the funds from agencies? Mr. Speaker, the fact will show. The Guyana Civil Aviation Authority had in excess of $1 billion when we left office in its reserve. Minister Robeson then was the minister at that time. Marat had billions of dollars available to it. Thanks to the chairmanship of a famous Mr. Larry London, last year we had to give GCAA $460 million, and this year we have to give them money again. Do you see the difference in the models of development? That is the model. The money is gone, but nothing to show. Mr. Speaker, we are here tonight debating a $383.1 billion budget. But in the last 5 years, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19, the APNU AFC spent $1.3 trillion. And Mr. Speaker, let me break this down for the ordinary Guyanese. A trillion is 1,000 billion. What they have to show? We heard tonight a roundabout, 5 overpasses, and Dorman Park. And the arches were donated. The arches were donated, Banks DIH and Answer McCall. Why would you want to put that as an expenditure when it was donated? Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the House would not be intimidated, condemned, or either manipulated by the opposition, who is coming here as with their sanctimonious gangsterism about saying how they would like to have this and they would like to have that and they would like to have this and that. When they were there, the only things they would like to have are the things they took for themselves. We in the PPPC bring to this nation a culture of servant leadership. Yes, we lead, but we lead by serving our people. That is why we are rooted in the base. That is why you can see us on the ground. That is why we visit the villages. That is why we run the boats going up to every creek. That is why we're in every community. That is why we reach out to Afro, Indo, Chinese, Portuguese, Brazilian, Santanton, Douglas, anybody.
The Honorable Deputy Speaker on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on a point of order. The Honorable Member is imputing my character.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Schuman. I respectfully bow to you, sir. All except Mr. Schuman. So we got some wrongs to right, sir. Mr. Speaker, if you look around now, we had an emergency budget. And I could say this without fear of contradiction because it's happening across the country. Everybody want their roads fixed. I'm sure you will tell me that about your roads as well, Mr. Speaker. You know what we did when we went into the ministry? We sent out our engineers to every NDC and RDC to consult. Every NDC was to name the 2 top priority roads for fixing. We didn't discriminate by where Indians live and where Africans live. We fixed roads. As I stand here to speak tonight, 168 roads are under construction throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. And Mr. Speaker, let me just say this while I'm on this point. You know what was our implementation rate at the Ministry of Public Works for 2020? 95.7%. Moving from 57 and 61% over the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, we got to right the wrongs. The children were denied $8 billion plus. We are righting that wrong. We're giving them back their money. The senior citizens of this country were denied their water subsidy. We are righting that wrong. We're giving it to them. Our young people had to line up at the Ministry of Housing for house lots, and nothing was happening. Only selected people were getting, and you had to do all kinds of gymnastics on the table and under the table to get through. We are righting that wrong. Our farmers had to face difficulties with D&I charges. We are righting that wrong. This budget is righting wrongs. Number 5, Mr. Speaker, this budget is ensuring the health and well-being of our citizens. It's advancing our intellectual development. It is retooling our workforce with the skills needed to service the traditional as well as the new and emerging sectors. Mr. Speaker, I speak of oil and gas. I speak of ecotourism and our hospitality industry. I speak about agro-processing and light manufacturing and plantation agriculture and our biodiversity services. I'm not just speaking about rice, sugar, bauxite, forestry. We are expanding, and we have to add to that information communication technology. So when you hear from our colleagues on this side of the house, the infrastructure is being set. Physical infrastructure, legislative infrastructure, the economic framework to ensure that all of our sectors are moving together, that the regression that we had over the last 5 years will be experienced a turnaround. Hence the title of our budget, A Pathway to Prosperity. We're cutting new grounds to make that happen, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget also provides for the safeguarding of the vulnerable amongst us. A country is not just judged by the great things that they do, but by how we treat the vulnerable in our society. The helpless, the downtrodden, the poor, the underprivileged, the differently abled, our single mothers, who I wish that our men would be more responsible, and we don't have so many of them. This budget speaks to those issues. We believe in human development. Dr. Chetty Jagan articulated a new global human order. Yes, economic development, but with a human face, ensuring benefits to real people. This budget, sir, caters for the defending of our sovereignty, ensuring the safety and the security of our people, and ensuring eventually that there is adequate investment in our future, safeguarding our future. This budget, sir, when I read and go through it and look at the numbers and the allocations that are made, it will stabilize communities. It will keep families together. I believe it will expand the middle class. It will promote the development of our small businesses. More than anything else, it will ensure that everyone have a seat at the table, because there is equal opportunity and equal access. Mr. Speaker, I have observed a trend that is developing in Guyana, especially by those who have lost political power and believe that if they say something often enough, people will believe it to be true. The Honorable Member, Mr. David Patterson, stood up in this House and said all the projects that the PPPC is pursuing were conceptualized, designed, and funded by the APNU AFC. Then I heard the Honorable Minister Ferguson not so long ago, former minister, saying that the Sheriff Mandela and the adequate housing project was their concept and they funded it. Myself and Dr. Ashley Singh had to look at each other and smile. Mr. Speaker, that was a $66 million IDB loan, and I'm sure the person who would have signed that loan, the signature would be Ashley Kumar Singh. They refashioned that money, sir. And they did what they wanted to do. And up until now, Sheriff Mandela ain't done. As a matter of fact, when I assumed office, there was nothing going on in Sheriff Mandela. It was stopped. I'm happy to report to the House tonight, sir. Yes, Mr. Patterson accused myself and my colleague, Minister Indar, of the only thing that we do is fire people, and I'm coming to that. He said we don't do nothing. Well, the Sheriff Street Mandela got 9 subcontractors and 19 sites being worked on simultaneously as a result of my intervention. I don't do nothing, sir. I don't do it. I make it happen. Mr. Speaker, when we got into office, we left $50 million. Minister Robeson Ben was the minister at that time. Donald Ramatar was the president. India had allowed for us to fund $50 million to build a road link between the East Coast and the East Bank. We left office 5 years after we went back. Nothing. As a matter of fact, it moved from 50 million to 208 million. And they were busy doing their things there to see how they could get the best deals to give the lands to their friends, cronies, and families along the alignment. Mr. Speaker, the Indian government representative in Guyana worked on India's Independence Day to facilitate the PPPC's administration to reformat and get that project going again. And in budget 2021, monies are allocated because the work will begin in the latter part of this year. We are going out to the procurement process. We left the money, we left the road, they do nothing. And the man will stand up here, sorry, sir, the honorable member, will stand up here and say he conceptualized it. He was in Donald Ramatar's mind, president of Ghana at that time, when he went to India. Mr. Patterson was in the mind of Donald Ramatar, conceptualizing that project and funding it. Unbelievable how people will come here and pontificate. Mr. Speaker, there must be some penalty somewhere in this word for Kavakamitism. Mr. Speaker, the airport, the Cherry Jagan International Airport Modernization Project, conceptualized by David Patterson, according to the honorable member in this House. The agreement under Minister Robeson Ben again. 2011, Mr. Patterson was the conceptualizer. He was in Robeson Ben's physique. And funded by him. Money's coming from the China Exim Bank, not the APNU bank account. When they got into office, you know what they did, Mr. Speaker? They shrink the footprint of the airport. They make it smaller, cut out all of the other works that should have been done to facilitate commercial offices, food courts, reduce the amount of boarding bridges, and $23 million disappear from the contract. Well, the minister that does nothing, as he claimed, did something. That's when I assumed office, I went to the airport. The president himself went to the airport. And after a while, he led the team. President Irfan Ali led the team. And we said to the Chinese, we are not accepting this. Clear language. The same people that Mr. Patterson sat with and got $23 million and smiled, when they realized the no-nonsense, pro-people approach of the Irfan Ali administration, where we believe in value for money, where we believe the people of Ghana must get what they're paying for, we have now an amicable settlement, sir, where the same people will now provide corridors for 2 additional boarding bridges.
Honorable Minister, you will need an extension of
Already?
time to tell us about these bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member, I'd like to seek 5-minute extension for him to conclude. Well, as there's no one here, Mr. Speaker, I don't see why we can't give him 10.
Because Honorable Minister, I was presented with a list amending the standing orders.
Mr. Speaker, may I proceed?
Honorable Minister, please proceed.
Yes, sir. With that airport now, sir, we will have a new curtain wall. We will modernize the airport. They have to put up the superstructure that will allow for shops, and we have to get work done to ensure that the airline have offices and there's other commercial space. And the honorable member was so bold to stand up in his presentation and say, here know what the money in the budget is for. The estimates are coming, sir, we will deal with that. Mr. Speaker, this budget allows us to be able to move things in its proper perspective. The other thing I want to address, sir, is the honorable members say how we fire people. Mr. Speaker, he said we fired the general manager of the Demerara Harbour Bridge. I have his resignation in my office. He said we fire the general manager of Marad. The general manager of Marad is a man by the name of Mr. Stephen Thomas. The person who was the general manager was promoted and brought to my office as the ministerial advisor on maritime affairs, but has since been asked to go because of a number of issues. The hinterland coordinator, the man said I fired. Minister Robeson Ben sat right there and sent me a WhatsApp showing me of what was happening at 14 miles Madhya. Isano, 14 miles Isano. The hinterland coordinator that he said I fired has been dispatched to the area to correct what is going on there. But you know what he's worried about? It was a gentleman who accompanied him when he visited China and the Macau in China. Macau. He said a procurement specialist was fired. Mr. Speaker, I don't have a procurement specialist at my ministry. He said the coordinator of the work services group was fired. Mr. Vaughan is on public record telling everybody in Guyana, please don't drag me into the politics. And the man will come here and say, oh, I fired the man. Do you see what we're talking about? But it's the same man who told the nation when I broke the news that he had taken a bangle from the Demerara Harbour Bridge that says he don't even wear jewelry, don't like jewelry. When he was caught with the jewelry on his hand, photographs appeared across the country. He then started dancing and saying something different. Mr. Speaker, you know why I went there? I could have let this pass. But the people of Guyana should know when the APNU AFC speak, don't believe nothing that they say. The Honorable Member Annette Ferguson stand up there and say she will speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Oh, Mr. Speaker, the truth is not a person. The truth cannot be decorated with hairstyles and jewelry and brooches and cannot sleep on comfortable king-size bed with bed sheets. The truth is the truth. It needs no crutches. If it does, it's a lie. It stands by itself. It is the same people who stood up and told the people of Guyana they won the elections and Mr. Granger would be sworn in. They were mobilizing people to come several times for swearing in. It is the same people, Mr. Speaker, who deceived their own supporters, and told them that they won the elections. And they're coming here to rewrite history and to make all kinds of things. Mr. Speaker, during the time of the consideration of the estimates, I will deal with the numbers and the allocations that are in the budget. But I want to indicate to you, sir, Budget 2021 provides hope for Guyanese. A modern Guyana, superhighways, modernization, what you saw when entering New York, you will see while you drive in your cars in Guyana. What we've been dreaming about is about to happen. And the leadership of President Ali and the PPPC will take Guyana safely to that destination. I invite all Guyanese to come to the table and let us sit together and join in this path on working together for a prosperous Guyana. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.